shout out to Leonese Williamson for sending me this story. Now, some of you may have heard about this story right here, and it's been out for a couple days. It's a good thing I waited to talk about this because of the most recent update that just came through today on January 11, 2021. But before I get into that, let me introduce the whole story. This man's name is Michael Ray Stepanek. He's 45 years old, and he's from Iowa City, where a couple years ago, back in 2019, he took his car, used it as a weapon, and drove it through some protesters. And this is the picture right here. I don't know if this was before or after he actually did it, but that looks like his car right there. If you like where my cursor is, that looks like where his car is at, because I can see people look like they're running towards it, or maybe this was before it happened. And he ran them over. He even admitted to the court, to the judge, that he ran them over. Well, his palm color privilege kicked into over 9,000 on some DBZ shit. And the judge not only had him avoid prison time, but now the most recent update that has come out is that they erased the felony. The judge erased the felony from his record. So it's almost as if he didn't do anything at all. It's almost as if this did not even happen. He got no jail time, and he got the felony off of his record. So now he's free as a bird to do whatever he wants with nothing to hold him back. Let's go ahead and get into this story. Last summer, Michael Ray Stepanek, okay, it was last summer. I thought it was in 2019. Last summer, Michael Ray Stepanek, a 45-year-old white Iowa City man, drove his car through protesters during a summer rally and later told police he did it because the racial injustice demonstrators needed an attitude adjustment. You know, it's funny, when I think of attitude adjustment, I think of that wrestling maneuver. I forgot what wrestler back in the day used to do it. But I know what he meant in this aspect. Stepanek faced 7 years in prison if convicted of the charges that stemmed from the August incident, but he was able to escape any prison time and was sentenced to probation instead last month. That was all part of a lenient plea deal that saw a judge defer Stepanek's most serious charge and agree to strike it from his record if he successfully completes his 3-year state supervision period without hitch. According to the Iowa City Police Department, the man barreled through a crowd of demonstrators gathered in an intersection at Burlington and Gilbert Streets during an August 21st protest. The Iowa Freedom Riders, a police reform activism group, staged the rally in downtown Iowa City. According to the Associated Press, Stepanek was stopped in traffic and became infuriated that the protesters were blocking the intersection. He made a U-turn and then circled back, shutting off his headlights as he sped toward the throng. It was extremely jarring to have some stranger take it upon himself to punish a group of young unarmed people for inconvenience and or political dissidence, said E. Vasilio, one of the protesters that Stepanek struck with his vehicle. An officer in an unmarked police car saw Stepanek speed away from the scene, but didn't realize at the time that he just driven through the crowd, crashing his Toyota Camry into at least 2 protesters. How do you not know that? You don't know what the thud of a body sounds like when something hits? Like, you would have felt that. You would have heard that. Unless you just drove with your ears plugged in, your eyes closed. It says the officer made a note of his license plate, but didn't give chase, citing the bottleneck of traffic and pedestrian congestion. There were no reports of serious injury. The following day, police learned of a Twitter video that shows Stepanek striking the protesters. Investigators used info from the officer who saw him speed away to identify and arrest the man. Stepanek was arrested 3 days later and told officers the protesters needed an attitude adjustment according to the criminal complaint filed against him. He remained held without bond and spent 76 days in jail as he awaited trial. Stepanek pled guilty to a felony count of willful injury causing bodily injury. District Court Judge Paul Miller granted a deferred judgment for that charge, which carried a 5-year prison term, and agreed to erase it from Stepanek's record if the man doesn't commit a crime for the next 3 years. He was originally charged with assault while displaying a dangerous weapon, an aggravated misdemeanor punishable up to 2 years behind bars. See, they already had lowballed all of his charges anyway. None of the charges that he had attached to him had 10 years or more. Everything was below 10 years. He got lowball charges from jump. So I'm not surprised that all of this was completely eradicated from his record. They just say, you just be a good old boy now for the next 3 years. Don't you do anything bad so we don't have to see you again. See, this is what we mean when we say slaps on the wrist. Palm colored privilege through and through, where you can drive through a group of people, say the reason why you said it was because they needed an attitude adjustment. You get your original charges are less than 10 years and their low level charges, only to have them completely eradicated and erased. Now, the only difference between him and the guy who killed Heather Heyer back in 2017 is because she, I believe, what many of us have said is she's a white woman. She was a white woman that he ran over and he killed, which is why he's in jail for life right now, even though he's a palm-colored male himself. I believe had it been any other way, that he probably would have did some jail time, but not a lot. Shoot, he probably would have been out right now. The judge also suspended the $1,025 civil penalty, court records show, so he didn't even have to pay a fine of even a little over $1,000. A restitution hearing was scheduled to be held January 8th. The results of that hearing were not immediately clear. Cilio, a 21-year-old University of Iowa student, read a victim impact statement in court. She advocated for Stepanek to avoid prison time, but claimed she had no idea the charges would be expunged from his record. I think it's dangerous to have this kind of case occur and just wipe it away. Well, I have a concern. She says she advocated for him to avoid prison time. Why would you advocate for him to avoid prison time and then be shocked when they completely expunge his record? That makes no sense. Stepanek was eligible for the favorable plea arrangement because he had no prior criminal history. I swear that shit only works for palm-colored people. The man's attorney, John Bruzek, told a judge Stepanek was influenced by anti-protester political rhetoric on social media that characterized the demonstrators as dangerous criminals. At the time, he believed he was legally justified in his actions, but Bruzek claimed he had apologized and realized what he did was wrong. But this is the same guy that said that they needed an attitude adjustment. Now look at what his attorney said. That he was influenced by anti-protester political rhetoric on social media. And people think that people can't take stuff off of social media and bring it into real life. This is, again, why 45 got the ban that he did. Because, I'm not saying 45 was responsible for this, but when you get so heavily invested into this, you take that from online and you take it offline. Now, I think what the attorney is saying is a bunch of BS, because at the end of the day, this is a grown man that made the conscious decision to drive through those people the way that he did. And this reminds me so much of Charlottesville, which is why I brought up Heather Heyer. Michael understands how his conduct could have resulted in a much serious and harmful situation. The Johnson County Sheriff's Office endorsed Stepanek's life sentence, even as the agency pursues charges against multiple BLM organizers involved in summer protests last year. So that's, look, they want to give charges to the ones who were protesting and not to the one who actually ran them over. One of the group's leaders was accused of shining a laser beam into a police officer's eyes during an August protest. He now faces a slate of 15 charges that includes 9 felonies, and I bet you those will stick. Another protester who carried an assault rifle through a crowd at a June event in Iowa City was indicted on federal charges and currently faces up to 10 years in prison if found guilty. Now, isn't that interesting? Carried an assault rifle. Now, didn't Kyle Rittenhouse carry an assault rifle? And they're advocating for him to not face any jail time, and they're making him a martyr and calling him a hero and getting him all these positions and whatnot. Like I told y'all, us versus them. Iowa Freedom Riders, in a joint statement with another reform group, condemned the authorities' use of surveillance cameras to charge protesters with crimes. The group cited the fact that video evidence in Stepanek's case didn't come from surveillance footage, but from an eyewitness's cell phone recording. The discrepancy is clear. Local law enforcement agencies specifically and intentionally target our black community and its allies for surveillance and intimidation, their statement read. PC privilege on full, on full steam ahead, I'll put it like that, with no intent of slowing down. And this guy's ears look weird. I just realized that I wasn't really paying attention to his picture, but more so because I was reading the article, but his ears look funny. But yeah, so he's like literally skating away from this after he could have killed somebody out there because they needed an attitude adjustment, according to him, and they allowed him to walk away from that. These judges, like they always say, do they believe Dub S has infiltrated the courts in the police system, in the police departments? Yes, they have. But you know what's so crazy? You had people like Judge Olu Stevens who tried, did the same thing for black people, and they weren't even on trial for anything this heinous. But they got mad at him, and what happened? They rallied together to get him suspended for 3 months without pay. Because I think he did it twice. And now he's, added again because with the whole Kenneth Walker situation with Breonna Taylor. See, they don't like when black judges look out for us. The black judges they like are the ones like your Clarence Thomases of the world. Those are the ones they like. But this does not shock me in the least bit. When they say they can practically get away with murder, or in his case, attempted murder, they mean just that. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure you text the number that will be pinned down below so you can get notifications every time I upload a new video, and I will talk to you in the next one.